Yep.
Shooter ready? Stand by. Shooter ready. Stand by.
Shooter, are you ready? Stand by. Shooter ready. Stand by.
Ready? Stand by.
And welcome to the Shooter Are You Ready podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That is my fancy intro, as I'm sure you've heard and or seen before. I will bring in my awesome sidekick slash co-host slash very good friend, Paul. Paul, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well. Sidekick, I'm perfectly fine with. Big Conan
Sidekick
fan.
makes it feel like I'm better than you, though. I mean, let's all be honest. If you're doing Batman and Robin, nobody wants to
Hey.
hang out with Robin.
Don't be
Scooby-Doo,
Robin.
Scrappy-Doo, you know?
No, because it's the Shaggy to the Scooby-Doo. Scrappy is a villain, is he not?
I don't know, but we're like on the same level. I don't want to feel like I'm better than you. That's all I'm getting at. But enough of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode, I don't even know. I'm not going to act like I do. But it's a great episode. It's going to be a great episode. We have a very fantastic guest, a man I'm excited to have on here. A man who needs no introduction, as Paul would probably say. I'm just going to bring him in here. I don't even know what to do here. Ladies and gentlemen, KlayCo47 is here.
Well, hey, everybody. I don't have
Oh,
a
hey. Oh, Mr. Yellow Glasses. I was going to, dude. Okay, we'll start off with that. Okay, because at first when me and Paul,
contacts just so that would throw people off because
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, who is
What
this
yellow
guy? He
glasses?
doesn't have yellow glasses. The first time me and Paul did a podcast, I was like, I have no footage to do anything. We're just going to do this. It's a stupid idea I've had for a while. Nobody's going to watch it. And then, you know, like Paul was saying, we don't want to be name droppy. I'm like, no, not if I don't want to. I don't seem like I'm somebody. You know, I'm not better than I think I am. But and then you just got named as Mr. Yellow Glasses. And then I think I talked to you like while my kid, it was a couple weeks after that week. I don't remember, while my kid was at his job interview and you're like, Mr. Yellow Glasses here. And I was like, oh shit, you heard that.
Yeah.
And I felt stupid. But I had a pair of yellow glasses at work that I wear like when it gets dark out because, you know, OSHA, safety first, you have to wear glasses. And I lost them the other night while working when some drunk driver hit a pole and broke it. And I was so upset. I was like, I was going to wear those glasses when I did this podcast with Clay in a couple of days. But what are you going to do? You know,
I'm sorry. I can go put them on. I feel like I'm
no,
disappointed.
it's fine. It's fine. I just now that it's cleared up, so nobody's confused. You know, I don't even know where to start this. I'm sure, ladies and gentlemen, Clay's here. You know him from Third Print Threads. You know him from Kalashbash, Texas. You know him from the KlayCo47 YouTube channel that is amazing. And what else am I leaving out? Lethal Weapons. There was Kalashbash. There's, I mean, he's a well-rounded guy. If you were listening to me and you know who I am, you 99% know who the hell Clay is. I don't think I need to, you know, beat around the bush here. It's Clay Owens, everybody.
Well, I appreciate it, sir.
I do my best.
I like AKs. AKs
Yeah.
are neat.
We'll just keep it simple. Let's see here. Clay. Now, me and Paul were discussing this before you got on here, and you've talked many a talk online. You've done other podcasts. You've made tons of videos. So most people have heard a lot of things about you, but I was trying to come up with some questions to really get to just know. I want to know who Clay Owens is. I know KlayCo. I want to know Clay Owens. So I'm going to try and get in depth here. Some of the juicy stuff. Like, Clay, what's your favorite action movie?
Oh,
Yeah, see. Or you can hit me with a top three. It's hard to narrow down one. I'll give you that.
I can think of the ones I'll watch anytime. I don't have cable, but like back when I had cable, I'd watch them anytime, even if it was like something that goes on for 3 hours because it's full of commercials.
Right.
I love Tombstone.
That's my God, I was just gonna fucking say that.
Love Tombstone. Saving Private Ryan is a good one of my all-time faves. But like just a cheesy 80s shoot 'em up movie. It's not even that, dude. I gotta say Point Break is probably my all-time favorite action movie of all time.
Okay.
Most quotable. I've got stickers from the movie all over my gun safe. I've got a Utah Get Me 2 t-shirt I wear all the time.
Yeah.
I love that movie. Love it.
Yeah, I seen you wearing that. I think you were at SHOT Show or something wearing it. I don't remember where I saw you. You were in a video wearing it, and every time like I yell or I talk loudly to an apprentice at work and I need two of something, I'll always be like, Utah. Yeah, me too. And they're like, who the hell's Utah? What are you talking about? Because they don't know what's going on.
No.
But yeah, I
They're
feel you on
uncultured.
that one. Solid movie picks. And like Tombstone, right before you said that, like Tombstone, like you said back in the days of cable TV for us older gentlemen, that was a movie. If it was on, it didn't matter what part you turned it on at, beginning, middle, whatever. I could just be, oh, it's on. I already know what happened before this, so I'm going to continue watching.
Oh,
Paul,
dude,
how-
we would play Tombstone like during Christmas. Like it would just be playing. That was my dad kind of, I always say this, my dad kind of looks like a mid-90s era Kurt Russell while he was playing the role of Wyatt.
dude.
Like striking similarities there. And my dad's really good with a wheel gun. So when I was a kid, I would watch
Nice.
that movie and look at my dad and go, damn, it's like the same guy. I
That's
just thought
awesome.
it was so cool. So it always reminds me of my dad because he loved that movie. And we watch it in the 90s all the time.
Solid movie.
Still to this day, we could sit down and watch it.
I think my father, I mean, he's long gone now, but in his prime, because he started graying early, I think he looked like Kurt Russell in Hateful Eight, like with less of a mustache, but the hair was about point on. Because there was a point where he just grew his hair out and it looked very Kurt Russell, Hateful Eight-ish. And I guess when he was younger, my mom says he was kind of more of like a, what am I thinking of? Escape from New York kind of Kurt Russell. So,
Oh,
Ooh, Pliskin.
oh yeah, solid. Paul, you good with those movie picks? Are those solid for you?
So I love Point Break
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze, I think, is phenomenal. I think there's some movies that Patrick Swayze is just more Patrick Swayze in, and I think Point Break is like, if it's not number one, it's tied for number one with Roadhouse,
I was
which
gonna say,
is
you got
also
Roadhouse.
another one that I love. And then for me, I love Heat, which is kind
Yeah.
of like the generic answer, especially with kind of the carry handle revolution that we're going through now, where everybody just wants to do 733 clones. I have the Heat chest rig. I was actually wearing that out at a match the other day. Surprisingly good. Like you can actually reload really well off of it. But my dad looks a lot like Bruce Willis from Die Hard, but like Die Hard 3, where he's a little bit older, he's, you know, now fully bald, and you can kind of see that there's some miles that have been left on there. And Die Hard 3, that's probably my top one. I think the villain's fantastic. There's probably one of the best action scenes of all time, where it's Bruce Willis surfing a dump truck through a tunnel underneath like New Jersey, and that just really sticks out to me as like one of the highest action movies that's out there.
All right. Now, see,
man,
I'm
you know what I just realized? All of our dads looked really awesome. What the hell happened to us?
yeah, right. I like food way more than my dad did, apparently.
Yeah, different generation, man.
Yeah.
Everyone looked 30 when they were 14, and
Dude,
just
they
had
were
like
chiseled.
chiseled jawlines.
Yeah. Like I like to mess with the younger generation again at work, and like these new kids, young 20s, talking about, oh, I'm working all day, I miss my girlfriend. I bring up this guy Herb, and I'm like, Herb's over there now, and they're like, what? And I was like, you don't know about Herb? That's the guy. He looks like a young Sam Elliott. He drives an IROC. He owns 2 storage facilities, and he's over there just keeping her company right now. And they're always like, no way. But that all started years ago when we were working Hurricane Katrina. This guy, Robert, started saying it to all these younger guys. And one of them actually was like, I can't take it. I got to go home. She's not answering her phone. And he was like, that's it, dude. I'm telling you, Herb's over there. Your girlfriend's going to be calling you. You know, your kids are going to call you uncle when you get home. And I was like, man. So every now and then, as soon as anybody cries about how they want to go home because they miss their girlfriend, I bring up Herb because it's a good laugh for me.
And I imagine that probably doesn't hold water today with the
Sam
the
Elliott
current way-
reference?
the current way people cheat on each other. It's probably just all on dating apps now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Herb's not that
So-
fancy.
so
He still has a
easy.
flip phone. But
Like what's the current TikTok? It's like, you trust your girl? And he's like, absolutely. And
Oh,
she's like-
yeah.
he asks her, do you trust
let me
your
see
guy?
your
Yeah.
phone.
Swap phones, open each other's TikToks, or no, open each other's Snapchats, and they both
Yeah.
go, fuck.
Yeah, that's over with.
Instant regret.
I'd have to say one of my favorite. I mean, I'll give you Tombstone. That's definitely, but like the one I can always watch, even though I wouldn't even. I guess it's an action movie, but it's very slow. Is No Country for Old Men.
Mhm,
I just
good one.
love that movie. and I don't know
Yep.
why because it's so slow. But every time I watch it, and I love it. It's a good one.
I always think whenever I hear "No Country for Old Men," There Will Be Blood.
Oh yeah,
I
Like,
just watched a doc on that. So good.
yeah, that's. I work with a lot of people that are overseas from the United States, and they're always asking me for, hey, what movie should I watch from the U.S. And then they'll give me a couple back. And there's some very funny Bollywood movies that are out there, and actually India has quite a few decent action movies these days. But I always recommend There Will Be Blood. They come back, and they're like, wow, it's just a powerful movie in general. And when you talk about like, hey, how good can movies kind of get and like storytelling, that's tough to beat.
Yeah.
Man, I want to change my answer now.
no, you can't. It's in stone. It's recorded.
So he's talking about There Will Be Blood. I just watched a doc where it was Quentin Tarantino's take on the movie, and it just reminded me how awesome his movies are. And I'm like, oh man, what about like Inglourious Bastards and Pulp Fiction? Pulp Fiction is probably one of my all-time favorite movies, but I don't know if it's a straight-up action movie, if it qualifies.
I don't know what genre you would put that into, because it's not like a gangster.
It's his own
movie.
genre. It's a Quentin Tarantino genre.
That's very
Because
true.
like
That's very
it's
true.
like Hateful Eight's not an action movie. That's more of like it's more suspense ish because you kind
It's
of
just
keep
like the
questioning
greatest
things.
dialogue you've ever heard in every movie.
Oh, I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, yeah, the guy likes Toes. Big deal. He makes great movies. It's 2024. You don't shame people for liking Toes. Like Dusk Till Dawn. I love that movie. I don't think there's a Quentin Tarantino movie where I'm like, oh, that was trash. Well, okay, I'll admit it. It's not a good take for most people. I'm not a Kill Bill guy.
Same. Out of everything he's done, those are the ones.
Yeah.
I watched them a couple times each, and that was good for me. Everything else,
Yeah.
Inglourious Bastards, even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I watched them over and over and over again.
Love that.
All of his stuff. Reservoir
yeah.
Dogs.
Oh.
I grew up on Reservoir Dogs.
Oh yeah.
Django Unchained is one that I go back to all the time.
Oh yeah.
There's so many. It's literally in 3 acts, and each one just by itself is fantastic. And then the ending shootout with like the slow motion, and he's diving all over the place. It's fantastic.
Blood just exploding everywhere.
Dude, just the mask scene when they're bitching about the holes in their masks is like the most quotable scene of the of any movie from like the last 2 years. Yeah. I can't see fucking shit in this thing. Me and my wife all day quote that movie.
Look, I'm not saying it wasn't a nice gesture.
Dude, anytime Rachel like tries to do something nice and it fails, I'm like, look, I'm not saying we don't appreciate you working. Okay.
Yeah.
But could have been done better.
Next time, full regalian.
Yes.
Oh, well, at least I'm not getting hated on for not liking Kill Bill. That's nice. That's always good because a lot of people, oh, are you kidding me? That movie's great. I'm like, not really. I'd rather watch like Ernest Scared Stupid than watch Kill Bill.
An Ernest movie. What, dude? A guy LARPed as Ernest at Lethal Weapons.
Oh yeah, I seen that.
Yeah, John LaFleur. Ernest goes to Lethal Weapons.
So I think perfect time for a segue here. How did Lethal Weapons turn out?
Oh man, it's gonna sound bad, but I kind of had, I don't know if low expectations is the right word, but I thought we were doing things very differently than the last year without all the vendors and we didn't have the big expo attached to it. We just wanted to throw a match, and we put everything into the match. I didn't have to worry about keeping vendors happy. I didn't have to worry about managing parking and all the logistics of KB. I just wanted to do a match to see if I could do a good one. And then we decided to do 2 matches. And I got to say, just from feedback, people seem to think it was one of the most fun matches they've ever shot. Might not have been the most challenging or physically demanding, but I went hard on the props, called in a lot of favors, got some airboats, got some RV campers, a lot of stuff brought on site. And I think it was awesome. The sheer amount of people that LARPed, if there were about 350 shooters, I would say 2/3 of all of them LARPed. I mean, there were less people not LARPing compared to LARPing. It was absolutely incredible. But the coolest thing is the guns. You can just walk up on random squads and see the craziest variety of old school guns. So many SIG 550s this year.
I was watched the video, and there's a lot of nice guns in there, and I was like, yeah, that's what I'm. See, I don't have anything that cool. Like if I was to make a trip down there,
see that? The guy with the 8mm Matson.
Yeah.
Thing weighed 22 pounds unloaded.
I bet.
Damn.
and he lugged that thing around. Aiden was running the M60.
Yeah, I saw
Brandon was
that.
on his FNC. I saw 2 FNCs. I mean, it's just crazy that it's almost bittersweet because I know, like, shit, I wish this was more common where people would take these rare and collectible guns and go shoot matches. Because, you go to a match, you might see a couple guys that brought out that one cool gun, maybe at a local match. But when it's a requirement and that's the only thing that's allowed, the shit you see is just so freaking cool. And people aren't even really that concerned about winning. People are more
we show
concerned
this?
about just flexing their coolest shit.
Clay, I
we
can
showed
show
you.
this, right? You know all the rules. Oh no, we're
Yeah.
not live. We're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
here's the
even-
Madsen coming up here.
Yeah, even if we were live, you just can't touch guns on camera while you're live.
I always point
You
at
can-
these ones in the back. I don't
Yes.
touch them. So that way, if I want to talk about one, I'm like, you see this here and this here.
And it's just cool. And another thing that this proves, like Chad here on this this G3, he almost won the whole damn match with it. And that's pretty bone stock looking G3 PTR 91, but it's just
Yeah.
crazy. People can pull some crazy good numbers with outdated old school guns because a lot of these guys are training with these things for months for lethal weapons, and I mean doing stuff that wouldn't impress you if a guy with like a gamer gun did it,
Right.
like pulling numbers like that. It's that was the coolest thing to me, just what people were able to do with these old ass guns as well as flex these cool old guns. It's just, it doesn't happen anywhere else. I wish this was more common. I wish more people would do these old soldier of fortune style things where you had to run guns bone stock the way you bought them. And back in those days, these guns would have been current and pretty relevant. I just wish this was more common, man, because for selfish reasons, I want to go shoot matches like this. Not just do them because it takes a lot of work. I just want someone else to do the work so I can go shoot them.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I was watching that video and there was just so much cool stuff in there, and I'm just like, man, I was like, just when you think, I mean, let's be honest, we all know there's never enough. It's never enough. There's always something else that you want. And just watching this, I'm like, oh, I'd like one of those. Oh, I'd like one of those. Oh, look at that. And it's just a lot of very cool older retro guns, like you were saying, and it just makes me upset when I look at my collection. Like, you need to step it up. You need some cooler old retro guns.
And I think you hit the nail on the head here, Clay, too, where if I go to like a local rifle match, the rack is like, wow, a 14.5 or 16-inch AR with a free floated handguard, and take your pick of your Holosun optic, and they're all kind of the same. And I don't know if it's, and I don't want to blame video games here, but I feel like everybody, like if you like Call of Duty, hey, what's the meta build? What do I need to do in the game in order to like be the most optimal? And when you have guys out here that are running, iron sighted dissipator, which is on the screen right now, we saw a baby poop, Rhodesian foul previously, MP5s with iron sights. They're not the most optimal gun to shoot, but they're putting up numbers. And they're having a great time. And, when these guys do go out and let's say, wow, he went through that door hard. When they do go out and they do shoot some of these, ARs, I think that they're just, overall going to be better shooters for it.
Competition shooting, as you guys know, you shoot a lot of matches. It kind of starts to turn into NASCAR. People have found the shape that works. They've all found the same power plant that works. They know what tire to run. And once it all cycles up. I mean, if anyone wants to be at all competitive, you shoot an AR, you free float the barrel, you put a dot on it, and you move on. It's all turned into NASCAR. Everything's an AR. So, and there's nothing wrong with that, and nothing against NASCAR. We had Rick. Of course, you saw we had Ricky Bobby.
Oh yeah, shake and bake.
Great. We had shake and bake out there. But to me, it's not why I'm necessarily into competitive shooting. It's the funnest thing I know to do with my pants on. And to me, what even steps it up is just not shooting the same thing everyone else is shooting. It kind of waters it down to me.
Yeah.
So seeing stuff like this, it takes what I already love and just turns it up to 11 cool factor wise. And it makes people LARP because they got to dress to match the gun. And it's just so cool. I can't even really put it into words just how special it is when you're around all these people and everyone's having that same feeling. Like, damn, I wish this would happen every week, and I wish I had a reason to bring this gun out that I never bring out because I'm going to get crushed at a match. So it's pointless to bring it out unless you're just going to have a nostalgic weekend and go shoot your G3. If it
I
was,
would if I had one.
yeah, if the match called for that, you could be competitive and shoot a fun gun. You get to do HK slaps. No one's HK slapping anymore at competitions. It doesn't make any sense to. You're running T handles.
Yeah. Side note,
Actually,
you
after
talked about.
seeing,
Go ahead, Paul. I didn't mean to cut
I
you
was just
off.
gonna say, after seeing you run a foul, I ran out and I bought one this weekend.
Oh, dude, FALs are so cool.
They just are. I got an L1A1.
Mm.
Just it's not perfect as to where I want it to be at, but I've had fouls in the past. I've had G3s in the past. I was actually going to shoot an HK91 at Thunder this year, and they are definitely, if you are thinking about, hey, I want to go out and I want to shoot one of these older rifles, you got to put in some time beforehand because there's some work to get them to run right, and they're picky with ammo, and there's mag issues that are out there. So the people that are committed to this are very committed to this. They're not, hey, I'm going to stop by Cabela's on Friday and pick up a rifle and go shoot on Sunday. This is a 6 month to a year endeavor in order to get ready for these.
True.
That's a move
That
I
FAL
would
that I
do.
ran is my dad's, and I just assumed, I haven't shot it in years. I just assumed it was good to go. I go to get it zeroed, and gas setting doesn't like the ammo that I picked. So I had to spend, I had to do the whole thing where there's a special way to tune the FAL. It's got like 7 or 8 settings, and I had to go through that whole process and then weed out the mags that didn't work. The metal mags, they dent.
Mm-hmm.
So you hit the nail on the head. These old guns are it's like having a car with a carburetor. You got to tune on it sometimes. You got to kind of know mechanically how it works to get a good driving experience. Same way with these old guns. It's not plug and play like ARs are, but like I always say about AKs, you run one of those old guns as fast as an AR or better, whoo, that feeling's hard to beat because it's not easy. It's a super fulfilling thing to do.
I would love to mow some shit down with a G3 in a competition. I think that would be awesome.
Dude,
One of them life goals. You were talking about people LARPing, which is awesome. And I told this story, I don't remember when. It was like one of the first local competitions I went to. I went out there and I'm like looking around, everybody's full kitted out, looking like a Call of Duty video game. And I pull my AR out and I'm like, or my AK, I'm like, I'm the only guy here with an AK. I was like, this is gonna be terrible. I was like, I'm the only guy here. I'm looking around the parking lot and this guy gets out of his car in a banana suit.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, that guy's got an AK. I was like, things are looking up here. We're going to be all right. Sure enough, guy in banana suit, AK. And we became friends. So it was awesome. But segue from lethal weapons, a question I was going to ask you. How do you deal with the stress of running these things, Clay? Because when I was at Kalashbash, I walked in the vicinity of you a few times. I was like, oh, I got to get a picture with Clay. And I'm like, he don't look like he's feeling like a pitcher right now. I'll just let him just do his thing. So
Yeah, probably wasn't.
I mean, yeah, I guarantee you weren't, man. I could see it on your face. I know what it looks like when you're like, what the hell? And you had that look a couple times, and I'm like, I bet, man. I mean, that's a big ordeal to run. That's not just like inviting a few buddies over and hanging out. That's good God, that's a lot of stress. So how do you deal with that? A lot of drinking? You just yell at the walls? What do you do?
No, it is stressful, but man, I don't know. Really, still don't really know how to deal with it. Every year, when you think you have it all figured out and you think you've put out every fire that could ever happen at an event, every year something new happens. You're like, wow, literally, I don't even know if you could Google how to fix that. There's something new every year. Dealing with it, I don't know. My day job kind of prepared me for a lot of what KB puts me through, just kind of people managing and figuring out problems in the heat of the moment so that 1,000 people don't see that there's a fire going on in the background. And I'm surrounded by some good people. Tony does a great job. Rachel's there. She does a lot of work. And then, we hire staff. And nowadays, the staff we've hired, they've worked multiple events from us. So they kind of know what to do. And it's gotten a lot easier. The old days were insane. Like the first KB, I have nightmares about running that. We were so unprepared, had no clue what we were doing. It was insane, but it can be highly stressful because there's a lot of things going on. it's not really the attendees that can really stress you out. It's really the vendors.
Oh,
That's really to me my portion of running the event. Dude, I'll deal with attendees all day long. The vendors, you got 50 of them, of which each vendor has anywhere between like 3 to like 6 staffers. They all have needs. They all want to eat. They all need water. They need electricity. They need Wi-Fi codes. Hey, Clay, I didn't read a single email for the past 6 months. How does this work? Like over and over and over again. Where's my booth? Where do I put my banner? How do lines work? Can I charge people for this? What should I charge for that? It's 1,000 questions in a day because attendees usually they're paying to be there. They're reading emails. They're thinking about KB for months. They've had to plan trips, their hotels. They're just on top of shit. They know what they're doing. A lot of these vendors are going to like, 20 events a year. They're just constantly traveling and they just don't read any information that we give them. So they get there and they're just like, tell me how to do everything. I don't know what to do. That's the worst part. And
Yeah.
some vendors can be really hard to deal with, personality wise, just not the greatest people in the gun world all the time. And other vendors are turnkey, on top of shit, the nicest people you could ever want to meet. It's that small group of vendors that are just, for lack of a better term, assholes. And they kind of ruin the experience a little bit, but other vendors really make up for it. They really do. And no, I won't name them if you're going to ask.
damn it. I'm going to say start shaming people.
I can't do it.
I will say as would it be a consumer, an attendee, it seemed on my end it was running smooth. I mean, I'm sure at an event like that, like how you were saying, there's got to be, random fires that you've never dealt with that you got to put out, but very well ran event. Everything ran smooth. We got to shoot when we were supposed to shoot. I got to walk around and spend money. I got to shoot a bunch of guns. I got to meet a bunch of people that I've never met in person. It was fantastic. It was a good time.
That's the goal. The goal is for you to not see the craziness behind the curtain.
Yeah,
That's the
don't
goal.
look behind the curtain. Yeah, but
it's like I know we're both big wrestling fans.
Oh, don't bring that one up yet. That's the next question.
Okay, well I'll save it then.
All right. As far as vendors, I don't know. Met a lot of people there that I've never met before, so that was very cool. I mean, that's like,
who did you meet there that you may have known from the internet, and it was your first time seeing them in person?
Oh, dude, I could go on forever. Flood. I've been talking to Flood for a while, and I've never met him. Let's see who else. There's so many other people. God, I'm gonna stall like an ass because I can't remember names. Podvatch. Never met Pingu. There's God, I can't remember. Brandon Herrera, of course. I know him from the internet. I've never met the guy.
He's from the internet.
So many
He's
people.
here to help.
Dude, there's a ton of people. And that's what I try to tell everybody. I was like, yeah, like you said, it's not the most. I don't want to sound like an asshole. It's definitely not a KCon. It's not a stressful beat you up event. It's more of a, hey, you've never done this, come have a good time. Meet everybody that you've been talking to in chat rooms and on, group chats and commenting on their pictures that you've been bullshitting with all year because most likely they will probably be here. And it's a good time to meet everybody and, shake a hand, kiss some babies, Well, not really babies. I blame the baby for me losing the LARP competition because there's no way you can win against a baby when the Mormons had the baby. But that's another story.
Oh, that's right. The Kalash Mormons won. Yeah, because you guys got brought up for Team LARP.
Yeah.
Right.
Whatever. But
it was a good LARP. Yours was great.
I tried.
Foley.
I told Jeff, I said, hey, there's a table next to me. He's like, yeah. I was like, hit me with a chair as hard as you can, and I'll go through that table. He's like, what? I was like, I'll buy another table for Clay. I was like, if I break this table, I'll pay for a table to get a good, bump in. And he like,
dude, if you would have told me, I would have sold it.
Dude,
sold
he
it like
barely
I was mad,
hits me with the chair. Yeah, he barely hit me with the chair. I was gonna have to Ric Flair my ass off to get anybody to believe that it sent me flying through the table. But I was like, whatever. I did what I could,
Oh man,
maybe next year. But we were just talking about that. One of the coolest vendors. I mean, everybody was fantastic, but I talk about this quite often, but I have to keep talking about it because it was amazing. Was Justin from JMac, because it was one of those give us money, you get a magazine, and I was like, yeah, seen this before. This is gonna be 3 seconds of a good time, but whatever. I'm here to have fun. Here's my $20. Come back, Justin. Which gun you want to shoot, man? I was like, that one. Here you go. 3 seconds. Cool. Here's another magazine. I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, here, shoot this gun. And I was like, okay. He's like, you want to shoot this one? And I was like, I gave you enough money for like one magazine. And we're at like number 7 right now. He's like, yeah, well, here, shoot this one when you're done with that. I was like, oh, this is getting my money's worth here. So that was fantastic. But then just like everybody else, very cool. I got to shoot so much cool stuff that I've never got to shoot before. Got to glad hand a lot of people, a lot of freebies. I'm a fan of freebies, of course. I don't know who doesn't like free stuff. But just a great event all around. And I thank you, Clay, for stressing yourself out so that other people like me can have a good time. That's the best
Well,
way.
I'm glad it's appealing enough to travel. I know
Oh,
that's
you wanna
that's
talk
one of the
about a
biggest
travel,
reasons
dude.
why people don't go. I've
Yeah.
literally like we're kind of we're central to Houston and San Antonio and Austin and Dallas. We're like right in the middle of all those. So I would say 70% of our tickets are all Texas based, but the rest people travel. And I'll quite literally get DMs and they're like, "Oh man, if only they would do this in South Texas." I'm like, "What is that? Like 2 hours away? You can't
Yeah.
drive that far. You're not gonna these events like this just don't grow on
Bums.
trees. You gotta
Just
travel."
bums, dude. If you
And
can't drive 2 hours,
no,
I would
I've told
love.
people, bro, I've driven 22 hours sleeping in my truck to make Red October. Like I've done
Yeah.
it. And
I don't think.
I still talk about it to this day. It was the greatest time.
Yeah.
It's just it's a road trip. Like throw a couple homies in the truck. You will talk about that trip the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's worth it. But I'm
It was a
biased.
good time. The drive home was terrifying for me. I got 2 hours of sleep in like a 40-something hour period, and I was destined to get home. You know, I was like, it's only 18 hours. We'll be fine. But I wasn't. It was terrible. Once you start seeing shapes of things in trees, you know you got to pull over. But I was just like, no, I'm just going to crack open this C4, keep it going. But it was worth it. It was worth almost dying twice on the highway and cutting a police officer off. It was a good time.
Hey, it's worth it, dude. That first time we drove to Red October, we were coming through an Indian reservation in Arizona, middle of the desert, signs everywhere saying you're fucking on your own for like the next 300 miles. No gas stations, no lights, no nothing. And we were just cooking, driving. And we haven't seen civilization in an hour at least. And we're just cruising down the road and I see like the premonition of a human walking and we just pass it really fast. My buddy was like, "Did you see that?" Like, I think couldn't have been a person. He's like, "Couldn't have been." We both kind of think about it for a second. And he's like, "I'm not fucking stopping." Gasses it. It was literally like a ghost in the desert. But we don't know if we were hallucinating or what it was. We've been driving a long time, no sleep. And I remember we got there, 22 hours, no sleep. The hotel, we got there a little too early to check in. So the hotel wouldn't let us in to go sleep. So we slept in the parking lot for a while. Then we got bored, and this is in Utah. We drove up the mountain behind our hotel and got elevation sickness because we were also sleep deprived, and it was a very bad time. And we very slowly, cautiously drove his 2-wheel drive truck all the way back down this mountain. But memories, right?
Sometimes you just got to do stuff for the story.
Yeah, I tell stories from that trip. That was 2016. I still reminisce about it.
We might have. I went to a Red October and I did something similar, but I think I did that in 2017. So I think I missed you by a year. But that was one where, same thing. Cannonballed out there, slept in the back of my car, and it was like I pull up. And they did it where they would give you a ticket and then you would go. You didn't have like squads that you walked around with. And I just remember I got there and the guy was like, "You're going to rip off, a belt from this PKM. You're going to jump down here. You're going to go do this." And I must have looked scared. And he was like, "You ever shot a machine gun?" I was like, "No." "You ever shot a belt fed?" Also, no. And he was like, "Oh, well, okay. Here, let me show you how to do this." But that was that was another beautiful event. If I haven't been since then, so it's been 7 or 8 years now. But
isn't it crazy that our paths crossed way back in 2017?
It is, yeah. And then they would cross again, not long at when that would have been 2019 that I think I slid into your DMs.
Oh,
that was when I had computer problems.
Yeah,
yeah. Dude, I don't remember what year that was. I don't even remember what the problem was. If you remember,
you had the operating system that you installed was a by 32 and not by 64, so you couldn't use all of the RAM on your machine.
got it. That was this computer that I built.
Well,
First
yeah.
that I assembled. First one I've ever done, and
I just
didn't go
remember
well.
you put it out there on Instagram, and you were just like, "Hey, I need help." And I was like, I'd been following you for a little while, and I was like, "Well, shit, this is kind of what I do for work, so I might as well,
Oh man!
see what I can do."
And to his
And
credit, what was that process like? 2 hours or some shit. He stayed with me the whole time, and we got to the bottom of it. He did a lot of troubleshooting, and I thought this dude's gonna quit on me at any second. I'm asking so many dumb questions, and he got me to the home stretch, man.
compared to some of the end users that I've dealt with over my career, you were the top 1% of people that I love to deal with, because the thing that I always despise is it's like, okay, we get to a new screen and then you're already clicking through to the next thing. And it's like, no, I need to read that. Like, I need to know where you're at. And the screenshots that you were sending where you're like, okay, I'm on to the next thing. Where do I go from here? And you just made it so easy. So it was like, oh yeah, we're just going here, here, and here. Here's the error message, done. But yeah, and then the swag pack that you sent me got me addicted to too many things. Goon tape, which I now
There
put
were
on
drugs in there.
everything. Yeah, yeah. So that was, and then I think we didn't cross paths again until KCon 2 years ago.
We all stayed in the same house.
We did, yeah, with the cows outside, and then we had the house basset hound.
Oh, that ran
came
through
in.
our house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I remember being in the bedroom and this dirty dog from like the Bumpus's next door.
Yeah, that's what I
runs
was thinking
through the
of.
room. And I'm like, Rachel, whose fucking dog is this? She's like, it's the goddamn Bumpus's from next door every morning with this thing. And I remember we even sent a message to the owners. We were like, hey, is it normal that you just get bum rushed by dogs? And they were like, yeah, about that. We've been saying things to the neighbors, so it's kind of an ongoing thing. I'm like, all right. So they're well aware.
I just remember Neil like went to the door because he heard something outside, and it was pitch black out. And he opens the door and he just goes, "Hello," and then the dog just sprints past him inside, like just came in from out of the night, and just blew right past him.
Yeah, those are good times. I almost love the Airbnb experience more than the KCon experience. That to me is my favorite part of doing these matches with friends. I just like hanging with my friends for like 3 days and no one's really got to go home. I love that part of it. And this last one that we did, staying on the Lake of the Ozarks, that was beautiful. I almost enjoyed my time at the house more than competing because, you know, they're always trying to like just bury us at that match. But man, that house was a chill spot. I thoroughly enjoyed that spot. That was cool.
I stayed at a different house, obviously, than you did this year, but listeners probably don't know that. And when I had never been to the Lake of the Ozarks area, so I'm just looking at it from Google Maps, I didn't realize that a lot of the roads are kind of like vertical around there.
Yes.
And the houses are built into like the sides of these hills. And I stayed with a couple other guys, Mark Krebs, and we like, it was almost impossible to park at the Airbnb. And I almost rolled my brand new truck down one of these hills. Like I dropped a tire off one of the sides trying to back into it. And eventually it was like, we're going to park 200 yards away. And then we're just going to walk down to this thing because once you were down there, it was incredible. We were down on the water. We had the Northern Lights that came out. A couple of the guys had nods. So we were looking at the Northern Lights through that. So it was wonderful, but it was treacherous getting around there. And I'm doing winter this year. I know that Jamie's doing winter this year. I don't know, Clay, if you're coming up and doing winter this year, but there is no
Clay, you want
way.
Show. I'm going to
You want to
SHOT
come
Show
up there and be frozen?
I think it's the same week as SHOT Show, so I got to go to SHOT Show.
Makes sense. Yeah,
Maybe
but
I'll
there's
back
no
out so
way
I
I
can
am.
watch SHOT Show.
What are you doing?
It's gonna be cold, dude. It's gonna be brutal.
Yeah, I know. I got to run it back. I got third on one day last year, and then I got first. But the only reason I got first on Sunday was because they had like 80 people drop out. Because the previous day was like -4.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, doesn't that sound appealing?
Sunday was beautiful. Sunday I was in a sweatshirt and a t-shirt, and I was out there shooting. It was fine.
Hello, lover. The old ball and chain just got home.
Yeah, the first wife, as you call it. Dude, I love that. This is my first wife. I'm like, that's pretty funny.
So
Um,
with Lethal Weapon this year, it sounds like you kind of went all out with props and things like that. Is there anything that you weren't able to do that maybe you got close to doing when it came to props, and that might be somewhere in the future? Or is there anything that you've really been kind of noodling on since you've been designing these stages for so long that you're like, man, if only I could get like a wreck of an AC 130 in here, we could really create something special.
just the
The thing
cockpit.
that everything I asked for, I kind of got. My main goal this year was to do a trench stage. Going back to Red October 2017 when they had trenches, people still to this day say, "Oh, that was the coolest stage I've ever shot." I've even said that. I just think it was the coolest stage I've ever shot at a match ever. But Matt, what range is going to let you dig trenches? It's always a
Yeah.
no. Everywhere we've gone. Well, man, I just asked Matt really nice, like, "Hey, what are the odds of getting trenches?" And he's like, "Well, there's one bay where maybe we could dig trenches." And it was maybe for like a month, and I kept bugging him, and we went out there and surveyed it, and he agreed to dig trenches, and he dug them deep, almost too deep, where he had to like put dirt in. I mean, you were totally submerged the first time he dumped them, and that wasn't going to work. But the trenches was a huge ask, and we got it. I've always wanted to do a Breaking Bad stage with like a meth lab and a Winnebago. The range had an old FEMA trailer that was good enough to use, and we got that. And the airboat was I had a really sweet talk a family member that owned a really nice airboat to bring it out there and dump it on grass and let people throw fake drugs in it for 3 days, and he agreed. Those were the three big ones that I really wanted to pull off, and we got it. The tank traps, that was also easy. The one thing I've always wanted to do, and we really tried, we just uh, couldn't find a cost-effective way to do it. I've always wanted to shoot out of a helicopter fuselage or
Ooh.
like a small Cessna, some sort of aircraft, but even like garbage hulls or fuselages, people want a ton of money for, even though you're gonna be like shooting out of them. Like it's almost worthless. It's just a prop you're gonna move around. But I think we're getting pretty close to maybe investing in something like that that can be reused every year. We just shot Cold War this year, and that range has a Huey that's been used for matches for like the past 10 years. So you get to climb up in it and sit in the seat, and they're, both of the sides are open. And there's so many ways to incorporate that into stages. And I just think it's time that we invest in something like that because it can be reused over and over and over again. But that's the one thing I've always wanted to do that I really want to pull off. And just today, I'm coming home from Austin, and I drive by a scrapyard, and they've got all these old planes that are just being parted out in this field. I'm like, man, I gotta, like, I've done the Everglades drug stage. I gotta do like another drug stage with an actual Cessna where people are like smuggling, like cocaine cowboy
yeah.
style. I gotta do something like that. So that's where I'm headed. That's where I'm dreaming big. Something like that.
I've wanted to do something similar. There's on like Facebook Marketplace every single day, just looking for junked whatever. Even if it's something that I can like, hey, I'll build the back half out of wood if it's cut in half. But you're absolutely right, where it's like this will never be airworthy again. But they want $5,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like okay. I remember I called up a guy. He had a Huey fuselage down in Iowa, and I called him and I just said, hey, here's my offer, and he said, I'll burn it for that. I was like, oh, okay, you really do not. You're very firm on this price.
I would have given the
Yeah.
money to see him burn it.
we
Take your word. All right, let's see it, dude.
we actually so the range that we do KB at, they also have a helipad out there, and they let SWAT teams come in and other people come in, and they actually do helicopter drills. Well, they had a helicopter go down not too long ago, and like it wasn't a big deal, but it went down, and it was fucked. And they left it there for like 2 weeks. And the range has a Facebook page where all the members kind of communicate and say, hey, there's steel broke over here. Hey, Matt, there's no TP in the shitter. Well, they put a picture of that, and it stayed up for like 2 weeks. And I'm like, Matt, what are the odds we could repurpose this thing? He's like, nah, they got to leave it there so insurance can come look at it. I'm like, oh, so there's no way we could use it for anything. He's like, there's no way you'll use it for anything. I'm like, damn, man, I thought it was a sign.
No, see, I just like to just like an old school bus or something, and just to start blasting
Even
through
that,
certain
yeah, even that would be
windows. Yeah,
good.
I mean that's just something you can get an old school bus somewhere, Clay. Let's see
Have
what you can
access
do.
to this tank that's fully functional because the guy that owns it has the license to build um, destructive devices and bombs and warheads and stuff. He's one of the only guys in the country that has that license. Also owns a tank that does not have to be deactivated because he's got the proper license for that, and he can make actual warheads for it, which is pretty cool. But maybe even having that stationary on a stage where you shoot on it, you climb it and shoot or something, or retrieve something from it. Something with a tank on a stage would be really cool too.
We Jamie and I shot Mitten State Mayhem, which is it's not fully AK focused match, but they're getting there.
Yeah.
They have an AR division, which sullies the entire thing. It throws an asterisk up there, but they had kind of a fake tank that you shot around for one of the stages, and they had kind of, I think, put in a lot of time on their props and done a really really nice job with it. But that kind of cemented in my mind as well. There's a guy up north by me where he has an old Russian T-34 that's just like chilling on a barn, and he'll take it out and he'll drive it around his property every once in a while. It's not something, it's demilled. He got it imported from Poland not that long ago, but I'm trying to cozy up to him this winter so that I can try to bring that out to a match, even if it is just like a, hey, you start in the gunner seat and then you just pop the top on it, climb out, and then you're engaging targets off the top of the tank. I think that would be something
Oh, yeah.
special that people would definitely remember.
That would be
That'd be
amazing.
great. A lot of these owners have a lot of questions like, what are the odds my tank's going to get shot? What are the odds
exactly.
they're going to break my hatch with 300 people climbing in and out? My uncle had a lot of questions for the airboat. He's like, will they be in it? Are you asking me to give people rides in the airboat? Like, no, you're not understanding what I'm saying. This is a shooting competition. I just want it as a prop. And he's like, so fake drugs in the boat. I'm like, yes, Florida Everglades. There's drugs floating around because Cessnas are going down in cigarette boats and you're scooping them up with your airboat. That's the idea. He's like, okay, I was alive at that time. I love it. Let's do it.
There you go. Okay. Aside from matches, we brought this up earlier, and I gotta make sure I talk about this before I forget because it's the top of my list of questions. Clay, let's talk wrestling.
Let's do it, brother.
This one I'm talking about, brother. Yeah. Okay. What era would you say, or age? Well, what year would you say you started like in wrestling, and who got you interested?
So I'm only 35. So in the 90s, this might have been like 97.
Oh, dude.
This was
What a
when,
year.
so this is like Monday Night Wars era. I remember the first time I ever saw an episode of wrestling, staying up late at my grandma's house, and my older cousin was like not allowed to watch wrestling. So I'm like staying up, and he's like, hey, grandma's asleep. We're going to put wrestling on. Just don't tell her about it. All right. Don't be telling on me watching wrestling. And he turns it, and it's Sting walking down to his music. This is like Crow Sting, like,
Oh yeah.
best version of Sting. And I'm like, what is this? And it, for some reason, had such an effect on me. And I started watching WCW before I even knew what WWF was. Granted, in the late 90s, dude, I'm like 10, 11 years old, very young. And I remember watching WCW every Monday night. Had no clue WWF was a thing. Didn't even know the Attitude Era was happening. I'm very young, so I was probably not allowed to watch that. But I remember seeing the whole NWO thing, watched the whole climax with Sting, taking the title away from Hogan there at the end. And it wasn't like the greatest ending, but I'm so young, I couldn't tell. So I just thought it was the coolest shit ever. And around the time I was in 6th grade, this is like 2000. This is when Vince bought WCW, and they did that simulcast. Monday Night Wars was over.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of tuned into like the ass end of the Attitude Era. Then Stone Cold. I remember sitting, we're all like 12 years old. I'm sitting at my table with all my friends, and they would always be talking about WWF. They had the magazines, always wearing the t-shirts, and I couldn't relate because I watched WCW until it died, right? And I remember they would always make fun of me because I was like a WCW kid. And
Wheelchair wrestling, dude.
oh, dude, that night I go home. I'm like, I want to fit in. So I start watching WWF and I see Stone Cold for the first time. And obviously was mesmerized like the whole world was. And I remember I bought an Austin 316 shirt. He had like the arms that were rattlesnakes. I wore it
Yeah.
to school, and it was almost like I went up a notch in everyone's book because wrestling was so popular at my little school. People would be like, where'd you get that shirt? For a 12-year-old, I'm like getting high fives because of a Stone Cold shirt. And then I was totally hooked. Would watch it every night. Me and my brother wrestling in the living room. Our backyard trampoline became the spot where all the neighborhood kids would come like wrestle with intro music and the whole thing, and just became obsessed with it for a long time. So, but I still get so nostalgic for the Hogan era of WCW,
Oh yeah.
Attitude Era. I know everyone says Attitude Era all the time, but I have a big soft spot for that cartoony 80s WWF.
Oh, dude, characters.
So good. Yes.
I love a good character. Like, here comes the plumber. And I'm like, oh man, he's got the plunger out. He's getting it tonight. That's the type of shit I grew up. That was what I grew up. I was like late 80s wrestling because I have an older brother, and he would always like, try to use somebody's signature move on me in the living room as soon as wrestling was over. Hey, Jamie, come here, let me try this. And he was a big Ultimate Warrior fan. So I got a lot of like overhead gorilla presses when I was younger, and he would just throw me behind him. So that's one of the conflicts of having an older brother. But I was huge into wrestling. Like I said, I've been watching it, since the late 80s, early 90s. I was a huge Demolition fan. Best tag team ever, if you ask me. I'll fight somebody over that. And I don't know. I kind of dwindled off after like they started getting rid of the characters. But then, like you said, the Attitude Era came around, and everyone just got hooked all over again. And then
dude, speaking
listen
of the
to a lot of
Attitude Era,
ICP. What's
oh
that?
yeah. Oh yeah, I found out about ICP in the 90s back when they were coming out with
The
Vampiro.
oddities?
No,
Vampiro?
remember when they would come out with Vampiro?
Yeah.
Then like the Misfits started to they shoehorned the Misfits into WCW when it was dying there at the end.
Oh yeah.
That's how I learned about ICP. But it's funny. I don't want to derail you because I want to get back into it. But
No, go ahead.
you remember, like, I'm talking this is like 1999. All right. I got my Jinkos. I got my monkey bead necklace, spiky hair, telling everyone at school to suck it. Dude, I remember getting kicked out of school for telling, I'll never forget her name. I told Deborah to suck it. Didn't know what it meant. We were playing kickball. And dude, like Deborah had it out for me. She's striking everyone out playing kickball. I'm the little skinny kid with my Jinkos. Come up to the plate, and I cream the ball, dude. Cream it. Sails over Deborah's big stupid redhead way out to the outfield, and I'm like, Deborah, suck it. And she loses her mind. She's like, ugh. And she runs away. I'm like, where's she going? I'm like running the bases, fucking cheering, right? And then the principal comes over, and she's like, what did you say? I'm like, what? I told her to suck it. Well, what's the big deal? And she's, takes me to the office, and she's like, you have no idea what you're saying. They call my mom. My mom knows. We watch wrestling every night. And she's like, oh, God, you did that at school? I'm like, I told Deborah to suck it. She's like, do you even know what that means? I'm like, fucking, no. She's
DX,
like,
Mom,
thing.
DX.
She's like, it's a sexual thing. It's an adult thing. You're not allowed to do that. I'm like, oh, well, all right then. Went home, didn't get in trouble. She let me watch it. And dude, but every kid in school, like, do you remember that era? Every kid.
Oh yeah, dude. DX shirts everywhere.
Every
dude,
kid.
It was crazy. That's funny you bring up the Jinkos because that was actually another question. What was Clay like in high school? But we'll talk about wrestling in just a second longer. I was trying to find a picture of me and my cousin. You think I'm joking? I'm not even playing. I'd have to. It's take me too long to look at it. Oh, Paul, I just noticed you pulled that up for me. But yeah, my cousin, Gorgeous George, back in the, I think it was like late 90s, she was hanging out with Macho Man. I'm gonna try to get her on here to tell her side of the story.
She was your cousin. You've told me that before.
Yeah, she has
Holy
told me
shit.
some wild behind the curtain stuff that goes on in that place, and I'm like, no way. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's the truth. And I'm like, I kind of believe her, but then I kind of don't. She's a little weird, but she's also family, so that makes sense. But yeah, that was funny. You said you learned about ICP because the first time they were on WCW with Vampiro, she got me tickets to go see it because it was up here in Illinois. And I
Oh,
remember
dude.
I had my face all painted up. I was all ICP'd out, and I was so excited. And I just remember sitting there bummed out all night. My mom's like, "Aren't you having fun?" I'm like, "Thought ICP was going to be here." And then, dude, they came running out with Vampiro, and I lost it. I was a stupid, huge ICP kid when I was younger. It was one of my, I wouldn't say lesser moments. I had a good time. I went to a lot of shows, a lot of root beer thrown on me. I'm just that kind of weird guy.
And dude,
But
on the whole Vampiro thing, one of the most underrated in this country. I know it's huge in Mexico.
oh yeah,
Hugely underrated wrestler. I can still pull up some peak 90s era Vampiro matches and watch it. He's
yeah,
a super talented guy, just wrong place, wrong time that tanked,
yeah.
you know.
I'm very big fan of like amazing like technical wrestlers. Like, I'll ask you first, since we did the movies. Top 3 wrestlers. Go ahead, hit me. What do you got, Clay?
Like technical or just wrestlers in general?
Just through the whole lifespan you've been watching wrestling, who are your top 3?
Crow era Sting, just Sting in general, because that's what got me as a kid.
Oh, thank God Jeff's not here. I think Jeff's a surf guy. Sting, he'd be fighting you.
Surf guy Sting's cool, but Crow era was
Yeah, I was
just
more of a
peak
fan of
cool.
Crow era Sting. Surf guy Sting just seemed like he was lame to me when I was younger.
Yeah, Sting was super cool. I remember like Billy Kidman back in the day. When I was a kid, I always thought he was like the coolest guy.
Yeah.
I think Ric Flair is just the ultimate what a wrestler is, what a wrestler should be.
Oh yeah.
The way he sells, pretty good wrestler, best talker in the business, awesome. But I'll tell you what, I'm a huge Jake the Snake Roberts
Oh,
guy.
you son of a bitch! You stole one of mine.
And Rachel met him like peak crazy drug addict.
Yeah, he told me
like
that.
when he was like working like basketball gyms at high schools and like
Oh,
the
yeah.
early 2000s when he couldn't get a job. Yeah, I love listening to Jake the Snake promos, but man, I guess
Oh, dude.
for straight up wrestling, I gotta say, dude, this might be controversial. I'm a big Triple H guy, dude. I think he's the total package.
You know what? I'll give it. Okay, those were your 3. Respect all. Triple H comes off as a huge douche. Okay, and I get that. And I
Hey,
remember
he did his job. He did his
yeah,
job.
he did his job. Great heel. Great heel.
Yep.
And I remember when he lost in less than 30 seconds to Ultimate Warrior at a SummerSlam, and that was like his debut. It was awesome. Because I was like, who's this snobby ass dude? And then Ultimate Warrior came out and just laid him down. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. That's the Warrior. But he's a very good wrestler. And when it comes to, I mean, there's good wrestlers and there's good showmen. I'm a fan of a good wrestler. And I mean, don't get me wrong, good showman's a good thing too, but the technicality of wrestling is what draws me to what I consider a good wrestler. Because there's plenty of good guys who are awesome on the mic and play a good gimmick, but they're terrible when they wrestle. They're like the acts of wrestling. They're just garbage. You know, they just can't do it. But my top 3, Kurt Hennig is my number 1. I'm a huge Mr. Perfect fan. That's probably a little bit too much for you. I know you're a younger fella. I think you're like 5 years younger than me, and I'm talking to you like you're a kid. Jake the Snake is my number 2, and then I'm a Bret Hart man because I love just the wrestling, the technicality of the wrestling. You know, Hart Foundation, Stu Hart's Dungeon, all that good stuff. That's what got me excited when I was a kid. I mean, newer wrestlers nowadays, I can't get excited about anybody nowadays. I don't know. I try. I was a Randy Orton guy for a little bit. I loved Bray Wyatt.
Yeah. Yeah. It's super unfortunate.
Oh,
you know, they're
terrible.
trying something new with his brother.
Yeah. But Paul, do you even watch wrestling? Do you know what we're talking about?
I do.
Okay.
But I never grew up watching wrestling. But there is a great YouTube video out there by a guy who is a big wrestling fan, called "Why Wrestling Isn't Wrestling," and it goes through the whole Triple H arc and kind of makes the case for why Triple H is fantastic, and why how he plays his role so well, so then other people can kind of come in. And I really kind of shit on wrestling for a long time because I was like, it's fake, it's boring, really people can't see what's going on here. But then after I saw that video, I was like, okay, I get it now. It's story and athleticism,
Oh, yeah.
and like characters. You know, it's drama, it's Greek, it's Shakespearean at sometimes. So I kind of get what you guys are getting at. When I would go over to sleepovers and everybody was watching wrestling, I'm even younger still, so it was all The Rock, Triple H, John Cena, and man, there was still kind of some of that like suck it attitude era stuff that was like going on, at least from what I remember. But it's not something that I necessarily like went out of my way to go see. I've seen some live. They come up here to Green Bay for a lot of years, and there was one that I went to. It was a Raw show, I want to say, and that was pretty crazy. Like the athleticism displayed, very impressive. But there's a lot that I was just kind of like not along with there.
Clay, you've gone to an event, right? You've seen wrestling live.
Yeah, I took my brother to WrestleMania last time it was in
Ooh.
Dallas. It's the WrestleMania with Shane O'Mac versus The Undertaker, where he did the crazy dive off the Hell in a Cell. We were very close to the ring at that. And I just bought random tickets. I'm like, well, these are decently priced. And we got there. I'm like, holy shit, these are good seats. And it was cool being there with my brother. And they did like a little spot where Hogan comes out with Mick Foley and HBK, this big nostalgia thing. Nobody wrestled, but that was cool. That's the last one I went to. And man, that had to be, like 7 years ago, 6-7 years ago.
I love Mick Foley, as you might know. But lately, I follow him on Instagram, and he's been kind of upsetting me. I'll just leave it at that. He's been getting very political, and I'm just like, leave it alone, Mick. Come on, just be Mick Foley. That's all I'm asking for. But watching wrestling live is not, I mean, it's a fun event. You get excited. Everything's cool. But you get to see a lot more of the flaws when you watch it live rather than the TV. Like, they're very good with their camera work. I'll give them that 100%. But I do love a live event. And actually, where was I going with this? I told you about this. I don't know if Paul knows this. Paul, I used to do stand-up comedy years ago. And I used to dress up.
I know.
Yeah. Do you know about Phil Nelson?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, I did tell you about it. I was going to bring up some clips, but I was like, nobody wants to see that shit. But, dude, me and my buddy, for years, okay, I used to wear a wrestling mask, a suit and tie. I would talk with a gruff voice and say the word brother all the time. And I would host comedy shows. We had a show called Stand Up Slam. I bought a belt, had it made, and whoever won that night got to carry the belt around until the following week or the month when there was another show. And then at the end, we did the Royal Mumble. And then we brought all the winners back from like a big show, and I gave the belt away. And it killed me to do it because I paid a lot of money for that belt. But it was a good time in my life. It's not every day you get to walk into a dive bar and set up a mini wrestling ring on this stage wearing a mask and a suit, and people are just staring at you the whole time. But the best thing about it, the first night we did it, or it was probably like the first 3 times we did it, me and my buddy were so hard into kayfabe. Like, nobody knew it was me. They were like, you seen Jamie? He's like, I don't even know who that guy is, brother. And they'd be like, oh, okay. And dude, like, I would talk shit to myself on Facebook. And then like, I would belittle Jamie Martin's jokes. And then he would just be like, hey man, I don't even know you, you know? And everybody's like, dude, who's this Phil guy? He's like going off on you. I was like, I've never even met that asshole. But it took like a good 3 months for everybody to be like, it's you, isn't it? And I'm like, no, not at all. Why? Because like, I would go to events and tell my brother, put this mask on so I can take a picture with you real quick. But I was hardcore into kayfabing myself, and it was a good time. It was a good time. That's all. I just had to do a little self-promotion of my Phil Nelson days. And I've been told, the old lady told me this when I first started making YouTube videos. She's like, you should do it as Phil Nelson. I was like, nobody's going to watch that shit. And
you should do a whole podcast as Phil Nelson. Dude,
I thought about doing it tonight. I thought about just putting the mask on and just the suit. And I was like, I don't want to freak Clay out and have him be like, what kind of drugs is Jamie taking? You know, is he on edibles? What's going on? But like, I thought like a while into it, and I was like, I should do a video with Phil Nelson. And I was like, everybody's going to think, like just tonight, I was like, everybody will think I lost it. They'll be like, I liked this guy because he was honest. Now he's doing this weird wrestling shit. What is he doing? So it's just an idea I might have. I might just LARP somewhere as Phil Nelson because I miss it. Honestly, it used to be a really good time. And all I told was shitty wrestling jokes that nobody laughed at. It was the best. But
hey, I think wrestling's more popular now than it has been in a long time. Maybe not for good reasons,
Yeah.
But Netflix doing so many shows, the whole Dark Side of the Ring thing, and certainly the Vince McMahon special.
Dude, I was
It's
so let
getting a lot
down
of
by
people
that
into
Vince
them.
McMahon special. I
There
don't know
wasn't a lot of
about
like new information.
Dude, yeah,
Just
it was
same
everything I
stuff we've
knew
always
already.
heard. It was cool though. It was it was funny as they're just dragging him through the grease, and they cut to and they like showing some horrible shit, and they cut to the Undertaker, and he's like, "I'd take a bullet for that man." They just go back to horrible shit,
Yeah.
and they're like, there's like a tear going down his face. I'm like, oh man,
I back
they
him
kind
up.
of did Undertaker dirty there.
Yeah, made him seem like he's a creep too.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know. Hope the best for Vince in his future endeavors, whatever they may be, I guess.
Apparently it's something.
I wouldn't take a bullet for that man. I can tell you that though. I don't know that guy that well.
No.
So Clay, you used to wear Jankos. I wrote that down. I was gonna ask you if you used to own Jankos. That's awesome. So paint me a picture of what Clay Owens was like in high school. Like,
Well,
let's
high
say I
school was
just
way
meet you
past
and
the
it's
Jenko phase.
okay. How about 10th
before.
grade? 10th grade, I bump into Clay in the hallway. What do you look like? What's your style?
10th grade, I'm on the varsity soccer team. I was also in debate. I would just like spike my hair straight up, just like the little flip up front.
Oh yeah.
I was much skinnier.
Weren't we all?
Oh man, what was I? Dude, honestly, like I hung out with like the shit kicker people sometimes, like the country boys, or I was hanging out with not because I was into it. I had a friend who like hung out with like all the gothy kids that like hung out and smoked cigarettes in the hallways. I hung out with like those two completely different groups of people. Wasn't super popular in high school. I wasn't like picked on or anything. I just very normal, middle of the road. Played sports for a couple years, started working in co-op so I could get out of school sooner. And yeah, nothing, honestly, dude, not a super impressive high school career, if I do say so myself. Like, not very memorable. I'm glad it's over.
Yeah, I don't know. I went through a lot of weird. I started off. I was like a skateboarder kid. Started skateboarding, and then it like transitioned into. I started watching wrestling more, and then my one buddy's like, "If you like wrestling, you should listen to ICP." And I was like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." And then I think 10th grade, I was probably heavily that ICP kid in school. I had like dreadlocks. No, I didn't have dreadlocks yet, but I would always have my hair like in little rubber bands. I was a weirdo. I was always doing weird shit with my hair when I had it. And it was like a different ICP shirt every day. I drove around this shitty little brown car with some house speakers in the back and just would blast ICP music everywhere. I was a total weirdo, but I don't know. I was just wondering. I was wondering what Clay was like in high school. I had a picture painted.
I did
that
have a
you were
cool
just a normal
car.
dude. See, I didn't.
I think I identified with having a cool car. I had a Fox body in high school that I loved
Ooh.
very much. Helped my dad restore it over a summer, and it was neat. I met a lot of friends through the car because there was like a car scene at my high school that
Yeah.
would always meet up at like the local McDonald's, like anyone that had a semi cool car, the dudes that had ricers. There was a lot of like diesel pickup trucks, but that was the spot to go flex your car. And I was in that scene quite a bit. Back then, I grew up with guns, but I wasn't like totally obsessed with them like I am now. Like we would go shoot all the time. It was just a normal thing. It's not even like something you would say you identified with. Just everyone shot guns. It was very normal. I think at that time I was really trying to get into more car stuff. I wanted to drag race like my dad. I wanted to do that. That's what I was into. I wasn't paying attention to AKs at all. Of course, you got to remember in 10th grade, this is 04. So the assault weapons ban had just lifted. So there wasn't this culture of like people owning cool guns. It just wasn't, I remember in the 90s, all up until that point, every now and again, I'd see my dad's FAL, shoot that, see some old carry handle ARs and shoot that. My uncle had some cool guns, but it wasn't super common. Not like it is now.
Yeah.
Very different Clay back then.
Paul, what were you like in 10th grade? You had glasses, didn't you?
Nope. I have perfect vision. I'm not even close. No, I mean, Clay, honestly, we were probably pretty similar in high school, except instead of soccer, I was playing tennis. I didn't have a cool car. I had a '69 Super Beetle. So
That's cool.
ragtop in sunset orange. It had 42 horsepower, so had to keep the weight on the ladies down. But yeah, I was kind of the same way. I was honestly not interested in guns at all. Nobody in my family shot, and especially up here in northern Wisconsin, the only guns that you're going to find are going to be bolt action. Maybe a Remington 700 in a synthetic stock is about as tactical as people are going to get when it comes to deer hunting. But for me, I was more interested in playing video games. So I was playing a lot of like Team Fortress 2, Counter Strike, StarCraft. Like Dota 2 was just kind of coming out when I was in the 10th grade. So those were the kind of people that I hung out with. But actually, around that time, dubstep and house music had finally kind of like
Oh,
infiltrated the Midwest. And my friends and I were like, man, we could like DJ and like actually play the music that we want to listen to at like dances and things like that. And I put together a music festival that was in like my school's uh like football stadium. It's not like down in Texas where it's actually a stadium. It's literally just like in front of like six bleachers. So that was more of what I was interested in, was like trying to put on events and shows and things like that when it came to music, especially when I was like a junior and a senior.
Clay. Now that Paul's brought up music, you're a big Rammstein guy.
Yes.
Have you seen them live?
No, we missed the opportunity last time they were here.
Dude, I remember my brother took me to the Korn Family Values Tour in '98.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like the first time they did the Family Values Tour, it was like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Ice Cube, Rammstein, like orgy. And I just
Oh,
remember
dude,
all I
I
knew
bet
was
that was
the
so
Duhas
cool.
song. Like the Duhas song was everywhere. And then I was like, these guys are gonna, I don't even know what they're saying. This is gonna be terrible. And holy shit, dude, like
Yeah,
everybody in
it was
that
great.
like stadium had no idea what was about to happen. And it was the wildest shit I've ever seen. So much fire, so much weird things going on stage, and it was just awesome. And they rocked that place. But I'm not
Yeah,
trying to rub it in that I've seen them and you haven't. I was just wondering if you did.
I want to. And now, even though they're old, the show is still good. It's kind of like
Oh yeah, I'm
Metallica,
sure.
like probably some of the best live shows they've ever done. I
When did you
remember.
when did you see Metallica last?
I've never seen Metallica. I watch them on.
Oh,
Been watching them
okay.
on YouTube. I've been to a lot of shows. My music lane for a long time. I like industrial. Love Nine Inch Nails. Any like that whole grunge era Seattle scene. I
Oh
love
yeah,
that stuff.
flannels.
A lot of flannels. The first concert I ever went to was Ozfest 05. At that time, Velvet Revolver was still pretty big. I remember really liking them in high school. I think everyone did. And I remember going there, and how old was I in 05? I can't even tell you. Maybe 15. I couldn't drive. I went with some friends of my parents who were like the young cool people they hung out with. And they took me, and I saw Black Sabbath for the first time.
Nice.
I saw Rob Zombie. I saw Mudvayne, and like all these bands that I was like thinking about listening to, and it totally got me. But
yeah.
at that time, I'd say like freshman year of high school is when I consider myself starting to listen to like good music. I remember seeing this special on VH1 where they called it the top 100 bands of hard rock. And I remember I would watch it. I saw Living Color for the first time, and Faith No More, and Jane's Addiction, Alice in Chains, all these cool 90s era bands. And I remember going to a Hastings, and I bought like 12 CDs, got rid of all my AC/DC and Aerosmith or whatever classic rock I was listening to, because that's all I had back then, and just completely started over
Revamping.
fresh and started listening to, I would say, much better music. And then I got crazy into like the Doors and like hippie stuff. And then the Nine Inch Nails era happened, and I've probably seen them like 6 times in concert. So very eclectic. Now I'm listening to Rachel got me into a shitload of just 80s pop music. Amazing songwriting. Just that crazy like new wave that happened in the 80s. I love that shit. And now we're going through a huge typo negative phase. Pretty proud of that. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Big typo negative people in the house currently.
Pink Floyd versus Led Zeppelin.
Not a huge fan of both of them, but I would probably say Led Zeppelin.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I'm taking Zeppelin too.
I cannot stand
100%.
Led Zeppelin. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, but I don't know what it is. I can't do it. I was a
It's
huge
not,
Pink Floyd guy back in like early high school. That was like when a lot of stuff was getting passed around. But I just can't do Led Zeppelin, dude.
dude. Zeppelin's not for everybody. I like Zeppelin. I like 1, 1, and 3, and then House of the Holies, and then the rest of it. I'm kind of okay with. I saw
There's a-
Metallica back in 18, though. I saw them in
Mhm.
Madison, and I thought they were old. Like in person,
well, they
I was
are, dude.
yeah. But like it was one of those things where it's just like they kind of missed a step. But I was in the pit, and they didn't have an opener, and they just had like a comedian that was kind of going around, and he was terrible.
Oh
And
wow.
when you see him live at the end, there's this code where it's like, hey, you can listen back to the concert that you were at, like whenever you want. And I listened back to it, and they had the comedian on there, and you could hear me in the background screaming, "Get Metallica out here, or I'm gonna burn your house down." Because we literally waited for like 3 hours from doors, and they had no openers. And but that was the first time I saw like a drone show happen. So I forget what song it was for, but literally they just had like a Moth into the Flame, I think was the album, the either the song or the album that they were supporting. So then the drones were going around like they were the Moths, and that was pretty cool. But man, I saw Willie Nelson 2 years ago, and you want to? I mean, this 5'2" crab apple of a man wanders out on a stage, but he played his heart out. He was out there for probably 45 minutes, didn't stop, didn't say anything, just banger after banger after banger.
Well, at least he's still playing. Frankie Valli's out there just lip syncing everything, looking
Oh man, and
terrified.
Rachel's a huge fan of the Four Seasons,
Yeah,
and she saw those videos. I'm like, what is wrong with that guy? Is that a
dude, it's
robot?
terrible.
He's been
It's
pickled.
terrible. He's like Ozzy Osbourne. But I think out of all the music that I've listened to over the years, I think the first band that I really got hooked on, and this was when I was like 8 years old, was Primus, and I'm still a huge
Yeah.
Primus guy. Huge Primus
This is
guy.
cool.
Yeah,
But other
because
than
there's
that,
nobody else like him.
no, not at all. Nobody.
Like,
And
I
they
there
just
are-
mean,
broke up again, or at least the drummer just quit.
it happens. You'll
Yeah.
get that. As long as Les still slaps
get
the
that on his
bass,
big
it's
jumps.
Primus, dude. Yeah, exactly. You get it.
Dude, that band for me was Oasis, and I just saw that they're coming back. They're getting back together, and I was like, man, I got to get over to the UK. I got to see them live. But yeah, I love Oasis. It's a problem.
That sounds
Yeah.
like a problem.
Yeah, that's gonna say the same thing.
I can cut that out if you want me to. It's no big deal.
Dude, no. What happens in the pod stays on the pod. That's the way.
Oh yeah,
that
you're the
works.
same guy on the video. You know what? I'm a big fan of the movie Twilight. And I was
Dude,
like,
I've been to
that's
Forks,
staying in
Washington.
the video.
It was
Whatever.
Dude, it kind of slaps in the fall. I don't know what to tell you.
All right.
The ladies like Twilight, and I like the ladies. So
Nah,
it's just
I
the way
won't
it
go
goes.
that far. I can find something else that we both like. Let's see here. I wanted to talk about Morty, but I don't know. We're at an hour and 18 minutes, so we'll get into something cooler. Just let Morty know I said hello.
He's alive
And,
and well.
He's awesome. Clay, being such a well-known man, do people in your neighborhood know who you are? Like, do they know do they live in next to like the AK influencer guy?
One neighbor kind of knows just because we've like had a lot of interactions with him. Like he's helped me move furniture. It's an older couple. I've helped them move furniture. And when the power was out, one of the random hurricanes that we got, they shacked up with us for like 3 days because we had a generator and kept power going. And Rachel just loves to, flap her gums. And somehow they find out that we do all this gun stuff. And they found me on YouTube. And she's like, they watch your videos. I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But that really does not happen that often at all. Some people at work know. I do have one funny story of how it was super embarrassing getting recognized in front of my boss in like
Hit
a
me.
very important formal meeting. Like shirts were tucked in and everything. AK Quality Enforcement, Jacob.
Yeah.
I'm going to Louisiana to work at a power plant, and he and I had been talking, and I coming into his neck of the woods, and I text him. I'm like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be working at a plant. And he goes, man, my wife works at that plant. I'm like, get out of town. I'm like, we should grab dinner that night or something. He's like, oh, dude, hell yes. We make all these plans. And he tells his wife, hey, Klay's going to swing by your plant. He's doing some work out there. So she knows I'm coming. And like a week goes by and we finally drive out there and I'm with my boss and a project manager. And we're there to work on a big water treatment system. And we walk in and like my boss has like hats he's going to pass out to them. And, you know, we're all dressed in like super crispy, you know, tucked in button downs, the whole thing. And we walk into the lobby and we're sitting there. And this guy comes out and he says, you guys are here with the company doing the water stuff? Yeah. Okay, cool. So he goes to get the plant manager, who's another lady. And that morning, Jacob texts me. He's like, hey, my wife's not going to be there. Bummer. She was hoping to see you. No big deal. We'll grab dinner. All right, cool. So in my head, no one here is going to know who I am. So the plant manager comes walking down the hallway with like an entourage of people to meet my boss. And my boss is kind of an awkward guy. We also have the same name. He is also named Klay. They come into the lobby and my boss is like, hey guys, I got a great team here. Just want y'all to know that we got a big game plan today. It's going to be great. And she kind of like stops him. She's like, hold on, you're the gun guy. And I was like, me? She's like, yeah, you're the AK guy, right? And I'm like, and then the dude next to her is like, that is the guy. I'm like, oh shit. And my boss has no idea what's happening. He doesn't really know that I do all this stuff. At least he didn't then. And I remember he is completely lost. He's like, what's happening? And she's like, the whole plant knows that you're coming today. And we're all very excited. I'm like, what the fuck? And my project manager goes, oh, big YouTube guy. What is she talking about? I'm like, I don't know. And I'm trying to change the subject. And she's like, so we won't bother you while you're working, but we're all very excited that you're here. Some guys really wanted to come by and like meet you. I'm like in front of my boss. And I'm just like, lady, stop talking. Stop talking. Everyone
awesome.
stop talking. Anyway, I remember we have a quick brief meeting and then we have to go walk outside to get in a truck to go into the plant and meet her again. We get done with the meeting. We're walking outside. It's just the three of us. And you could hear a pin drop. And my boss is like not saying a word to me. And my project manager goes, oh, big YouTube guy, huh? And I'm like, Eldon, shut the fuck up, man. My boss was like, what's she talking about? I'm like, I don't know. It's probably something. I might have had a video on the internet like 10 years ago. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. And dude, the whole time I'm there, I'll be on my laptop programming a system and I'll just feel someone hovering. And I'm like, hey. And he goes, hey. My boss also right next to me. I'm like, can you help with something? He's like, I just want to say, I really liked your video that one time. And I'm like, dude, not here. Not next to my boss, man. Don't do that. And he's like, all right, cool. And just hovers. And that happened several times. And I remember calling Jacob. He's like, how'd it go, man? I'm like, yo, you talk to your wife. What the hell? And he's like, what happened? I told him the whole thing. He's like, oh. And he brings her in. I can hear her on the phone. He's like, did you tell everyone? She's like, yeah, I told everyone he was coming. He's like, what'd you do that for? He got outed in front of his friggin' boss. She's like, I didn't think about that. Sorry about that. I'm like, yeah, dude. That was probably the most embarrassing thing that ever happened. And now, like, I was really hoping to keep a lot of this like a secret from my day job. It's just want to keep some stuff private. And now a lot of people know at work, and it comes up quite a bit. But I think some people now are so used to it. I'm not like a Brandon Herrera or anything by any stretch. I'm not even close. So it's not that big a deal. But I would rather people at work not know. But that ship has sailed. The funniest time ever, we're at this random chicken wing place. And I'm eating wings with Rachel. And it's like a place that's kind of open air. You're sitting next to the street. And we're eating wings. And I hear someone go, whoa, hold up. And I kind of look, and some dude's like looking both ways across the street. And he's like, hold on, stop in this car. And he like runs across the street. I'm like, what the fuck is this? I'm eating my wing. He walks right past me, looks me dead in the eyes, walks right past me, puts his hand on Rachel's shoulder. And he's like, are you KlayCo? And she's like, what? And I'm like, oh, yes. He's like, I follow you on Instagram. And she's like, I'm not him. He's right there. And he looked at me and he's like, I don't think I follow you. But I know I follow you. And he points at Rachel KlayCo. And I'm like, how is this happening? What does this mean? And that story's gone around. So now every time Rachel goes to like our local matches, people come up to her and go, yo, KlayCo, high five. And she hates it, dude. Hates it.
Oh, I'm gonna write that one. That's awesome.
Yeah, that one.
Dude, that'd be a pro move to just like big time. You're right there.
Yeah, right.
If he was actually like not serious about it, but it sounds like he was pretty dead serious about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bizarre. I don't understand how that chain of events led him to thinking Rachel was KlayCo and him acting like he had no idea who I was, but I loved it. I didn't stop eating. Just like this. I don't know how this is happening. This is great. So good.
I belong to this local FUD club by me because it's 15 minutes away. It's a decent like range to go sight in. Like they don't let me run around and do anything. I can't do anything cool. I gotta drive like an hour for that. But regardless, I go to this FUD range and they have like a huge rock quarry that they just got a bought property for. And I'm like, hey, what do I gotta do to go out there and shoot my videos? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I make YouTube videos. I was like, I need a place close to home where I can just practice and run drills instead of driving an hour away. Because if I forget something an hour away, it screws everything up. If I'm 15 minutes away, I'll go back. And they're all like, oh, I don't know. Let me talk to this guy. And they bring in this other guy. And I was like, I make YouTube videos. He's like, are you the guy that runs around with the little blonde wife and shoots things? I was like, no, that's not me. That's this guy, Clay. I know. I was like, his channel's way better and he doesn't need a place to practice. I just need a place to practice right now. But then they got all shitty with me. They're like, we don't need you running around and doing reloads and letting people think this is what this range is all about. And I was like, I didn't ask for any of that. I just need a place to practice, dude. I'll pay like triple the fee. What do you want me to do? So I'm still arguing with those people because they have this huge range and all they do is like 500-yard shoots every other Sunday. And I'm like, you could be doing so much more with this range and making money, but you guys don't listen. And
man, that's something I take for granted sometimes. Like a lot of people, I get a lot of DMs. They're like, oh man, so lucky. I wish I had access to a place that would let me shoot like that. Because it's not very common to have access to a range that doesn't make you like sit at a bench and just zero your guns. Very rare. So if you have that, even an hour away, dude, most people would gladly drive like 2-3 hours to do that, even like once a month. And if gun range owners ever hear this, if you just want to print money, like have a private range, vet your members, and let them take the leash off a little bit. Yeah. And you'll totally book out. Yeah. You'll sell every membership. People would kill to have that kind of access.
Oh, 100%. That's why I tried telling these guys when I was having this long-winded conversation with them. I was like, dude, just even if you just like opened it up to not even do like a full match, just like practice. I was like, give me 2 VTACs and some steel targets, and I guarantee people will come and have a great time just running in between these things and doing reloads. They're like, whoa, we don't know about all that. And I was like, dude, it's perfectly fine. I was like, you guys need to like get out of your bubble. This is ridiculous. But FUDs, what are you gonna do? Yeah, but I digress.
That's kind of been like the death of Red October out in Vegas. They keep trying to find new venues, and not a lot of venues allow that kind of thing.
Yeah.
The venue they had picked out even went a step farther. They're like, we're totally cool with matches. We're just not going to support that commie trash that you guys do.
That's so
dumb. Even they won't let them do that. So
that's basically saying we're so stupid. We don't want to make any money is what it comes to.
That's exactly what I said.
That's how I translate it.
Calculator works because
well, that's what blows money. Yeah. It's like I tried, back again to the FUD range. I'm like, I will pay you 3-4 times what my range fee is per year. Just let me go out there like a Saturday a month is all I'm asking. Well, I don't know about that. I'm like, you guys were just bitching about not having any new members. I was like, I'm telling you what you can do to have new members, and you don't want to hear it. You just expect everybody, oh, if we can get more people to bring out a 22 and shoot at this bench, it'd be great. I'm like, nobody wants to do that. I mean, some people, yeah, but
dude, is it a public range or do they sell memberships?
They sell memberships.
They could literally have an upcharged membership. They could call it a tactical membership, and it has to be vetted. You got to come get qualified to even buy that membership. And once you get qualified and they know you're not just a turd and you're going to shoot your dick off doing reloads.
Yeah.
Why not sell a membership at quadruple the amount? Most people would pay that.
I would totally pay that. I'd pay it and give out a handy. I don't care.
There's a range that we shoot at where I think they do that, and literally your membership card has different colors on it,
Yeah.
which allows you access to different things. Hey, if you're purple, you get access to the Steel Shack because you went through that training. Hey,
Yeah.
if you're gold, that means that you have access to the shoot house because you went through that training. And it's I think you guys are so right. It's like, do you just not like money? Do you just want this sport to fail? Do you just want this range to go under?
Yeah.
Because people are willing to pay and they're willing to drive if you are, willing to accommodate the way that people want to shoot. And the way that people want to shoot is more active. They want to reload. Nobody is getting into trap and skeet seriously anymore. Uh, that there's not the top YouTubers are not out there saying, "All right, we're going to discuss the difference between a 7.5 shell and an 8-shot shell."
Yeah.
They're out there and they're talking about splits and they're talking about time and they're talking about, hey, here's what my holdovers are at, more than 100 yards. And if you kind of don't get with the times, well, I hope somebody else will, and they build a range that's 20 minutes away from you and puts you out of business.
Oh, shots
Yeah.
fired. Take that, buds.
Let me ask you this.
Oh.
I still kind of feel like we are in a bit of a bubble, an echo chamber where maybe it seems like most people want to shoot that way, but I think we're still in a very, very small, dare I say, 1% of gun owners that actually will shoot their guns that way.
Yeah.
So is it still even like a niche thing for a gun range? I mean, for every gun range that allows you to shoot that way, there's got to be 100 that don't.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At
So,
least.
so I sit on the board of a skeet and trap club up here, and we're always hurting for members. And we put in 5 stand, and we try to host more events and community outreach. And the big thing is we're not getting people that are between the ages of 25 and 45. Those that kind of have the most disposable income and really the time needed to come out and shoot. Registered events and volunteer at the club, help with improvements, things like that. And I go to a lot of the ranges, a lot of the shotgun sporting club, shooting clay clubs around the area, and they're kind of having similar issues. Could be a demographic issue where it's just, hey, there are just more older people that are in northern Wisconsin than there are, people within there. But I do. It's almost like a cause and effect where people don't have the ability to train. Uh, Now you can dry fire at home. You can practice your reload safely at home. You don't necessarily need to have a dedicated range in order to do that. But I think for a lot of people, hey, I've never shot on the clock before. I've never had to, practice reloading on the move. I've only ever sat at a bench, and that almost scares them away from, even smaller level matches that maybe aren't as complex as something like a KCon, because hey, I don't really know what to expect. What is a VTAC? I don't have the skills maybe necessary in order to shoot with that. But I
Yeah.
also think that you could be absolutely right where we could be in a bubble of people where this is what I want to shoot, and I'm incredibly vocal about it.
That is
I'm
a
just
great
vocal.
point that you brought up, though, about those normal ranges conditioning people from when you're 10-year-old shooting with your dad, let's go to the range, on a rest from a bench. And most people
Yeah.
think that's what shooting is. Conditioning people all these years where maybe you hear, oh, there's competitive sports. Oh my God, that looks intimidating. I've never done anything like that. You're
Been there.
conditioned to 1 round a second at 100
Mhm.
yards at a bench in a very controlled situation. Yeah, it's a great point. I never really thought of it like that.
Well, and I think that also goes into some of the bias that people have against AKs, where if you're sitting there and you just want to shoot at a bench at 100 yards, your goal is how tight of a group can I possibly get? Because that's really the only way that you have to judge if you're getting better or worse with your shooting ability. So AKs can absolutely do that, but if you've got some salted out Wasser from 40 years ago, okay, and it opens up a little bit more, well, that's garbage. Okay, well, the use case for this AK is very different than your, A2 match H bar that has a 30-pound lead piece in the stock. And you're hand loading 77 grains in your basement, and there's there's just a difference that I think people might get conditioned into. I was talking to somebody recently. Well, I was getting into a fight with somebody online recently where it was, hey, I'm looking for a range in order to do that. And he said, if you want to go LARP as a Navy SEAL, go join a 3-gun league and leave the rest of us alone. And I was like, perfect. Where's a 3-gun league? You know, like I'm perfectly happy doing that. But I think that there's enough room in the space for everyone to kind of coexist with each other.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. And that kind of gatekeeping, I can't stand it, man. I get it too. People will leave. There was a recent comment when we just announced Kalashbash, and we announced that it's going to be like a Wild West kind of outlaw theme this year. And I remember the comment was, "What's with all these stupid gimmicky themes? Just do AK stuff so all the Star Wars nerds don't ruin it for everybody." And I'm like, dude, you're talking about like 9 out of 10 people that buy this. Like,
Yeah, no shit.
Well, like, what are you talking about? You want this to be boring? I don't understand what the point is. So it's like there's always a little bit of gatekeeping there. Even from what we do, it seems like some people might be a little turned off from the quote unquote nerds that come out and ruin KB that want to wear costumes. And I know some of the older people have completely avoided KB because of that. It's like a big turnoff. It just doesn't compute with being into guns. Like, people into guns don't dress this way. I don't want to be around those types of people. It's just weird. People, it's just like you said, Paul. The space is massive. We can all coexist. We can. We really can. The gatekeeping is such a horrible thing in every element, every type of shooting. The gatekeeping is total bullshit. I don't care if you're cloning, Colts, if you like AK's bone stock and you don't like crazy paint jobs, if you don't like some Asian kid dressed like a maid going to KB, it doesn't matter. The common goal is we all like guns. We're all probably going to vote a certain way. We all have that commonality. And the more you push people away, they're just going to keep thinking we're all a bunch of old, fat white boomer guys that have too much money and like guns way too much. That's just you're just proving everybody right.
You almost narrowed me down, but I'm not that old yet.
I love
consider
LARP
myself
guys.
old.
There was a guy at Mitten State this year, full gimp suit.
Oh, and it was hot. It was like hot. That
and
dude
he was
had to have
committed
lost
to it.
at least 10 pounds that day.
Shot
Zipper
in the hood,
mask,
had
everything.
it zipped up. Like he was basting himself.
I felt
inside
bad for that guy.
He shredded though. He shot pretty good.
Man.
Ugh.
Or a full boner the whole time.
Yeah, right.
Just completely bricked for the entire match.
He's like, I'm committing to the LARP.
Yeah.
Yeah. No way.
I think you'd either made a post or a video about how, like, hey, shooting should still like be fun not that long ago, and I resonated with it so hard because I think that there is almost a little bit of a pushback gatekeeping now where it's just like, hey, this is serious business. If you're going to shoot matches, you have to take it incredibly seriously. If you're going to train, you have to be serious about it all the way through. And it's like, no, you don't have to. You can mag dump into trash. You can go dress up as a maid or have cat ears or do anything like that if you want to. There's nobody out there that should necessarily be telling you how to enjoy your time, your PTO, your match. As long as you're having fun and staying safe, more power to you.
I think more people are honestly more curious about what type of rifle you had than really what the hell you're wearing when you show up at these events. It's not like like you said, I don't care if some guy comes up wearing a cattail. I don't want to know how it's attached. But like, just what kind of gun do you have? That's all I care about. Let me see what you got. Oh, that's nice. I wish I had one of those.
Dude, some of those guys are
very
rocking some straight heat.
Yeah, it's very I don't even know, Paul. I'm still terrible with words. It's a open community of just, if you love guns, cool. Come be weird, whatever.
It's a big
Hang
thing.
out, have a good fucking time. Doesn't matter.
It's a safe space for living an alternative lifestyle while enjoying guns.
There you go. That's fantastic. Shit, we're on an hour and 40 minutes, Clay. I feel bad that I'm keeping you this long, but
that's all right. I'm taking her out to dinner right after this, so we're good.
Where are we going?
Nice.
Lupe Tortilla, because they just built a new one right by the house.
Nice.
Is that the Oh, you were talking about something that had like green enchiladas or something like that the last time that we were hanging out.
Green enchiladas?
Rachel loves it because they have these crawfish and crab enchiladas that she is just a total hua for. And we're gonna go get some of those. They're pretty good. It's a chain. It's not like super authentic Mexican food. And working at the Tesla plant all week, I've been eating out of food trucks.
Ugh.
And damn, dude, no, I'm telling you, food trucks have come a long way. I think we're like in the greatest times of food trucks. Man, some of the best al pastor tacos I've had. Some of the best quesadillas. Amazing stuff out of a food truck, dude.
I have been stuffing myself in the last 2 weeks. I'm not proud to admit it because I was working out and doing good. But the last 2 weeks, there's this grocery store by where I work. And if there's no trouble and things are slow, you just kind of hang out, wait for something to happen. And I'll go to this. It's a grocery store. You walk all the way to the back, and then they're back there making tacos. And at least every other day, it seems, for the last 2 weeks, it's been 3 steak tacos, 3 El Pastor tacos. And I just feel miserable afterwards, but it was delicious on the way there.
I could eat them every day.
I love it, dude. I love tacos. Forget about it.
We just got a birria taco truck, and I plan my week around when they're going to be in the area. Like they're fantastic. I can't get enough of them.
Okay, Clay, I'm gonna ask you just a few quick one-offs here. I have to thank you and appreciate the fact that you're a humble guy for as well known as you are. I fangirled out. You're here. I'll admit it. You might have heard it already. I used to just watch your videos. And then one day I was watching the video and I made a comment and you read it. And I was like, check it out. He's reading my comment. And then you're like, I've been watching your video on the WBP. And I was like, no way. And then I was jumping around yelling at my kid. I was like, Clay's been watching my videos. He's like, you know him? I'm like, no, not at all. But then when I met you, you're a very cool guy. You're just normal dude. You didn't big time anybody. And I appreciate that because I was worried when I first met you, like this guy's gonna, because I think when I first met you because I DM'd you a lot on Instagram. It was that KCon that kicked my ass, and I was upset with you because you convinced me to reshoot the second stage and I DQ'd, but I didn't let you know that, and now it's the cat's out of the bag because you talked me into it. You're like, did you shoot all your steel with the pistol? I was like, no. And you're like, you could redo it. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll keep my score. You're like, yeah, man, but if you redo it, you could hit them all. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I hit them all. And I was feeling great. And then I ran around the corner and dinged that car and DQ'd
it would
myself.
Suck a lot less if you just did it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I remember that. We squatted up and we had been talking quite a bit before that. So you already felt like a familiar when we were hanging out. But no, dude, the whole big leaguing thing looked so gross. There's no reason to do that whatsoever at all. And you act like I have a huge channel. I don't. Like,
get out of here.
I'm a little fish. Well,
you're no meat canyon.
I've hung out with Brandon enough to know what like that level of notoriety feels like.
Yeah.
And it seems very isolating and very weird.
Yeah.
When we first met Brandon back in like 2018, we were working on the first KB and he wanted to come out to it. And we were like, oh man, post about it. We'll let you come out. We'll give you a free ticket. We didn't know what we were doing. And back then, this was right before like uber famous Brandon. This is 2019 Brandon. I think AK-50 had just broke and he was starting to climb. And even then, I remember bringing him out there and like I'd been hanging out with him all week. So it was just normal Brandon and his crew. But when the people got there, I was like, oh shit. It was a sea of neck-bearded 20-somethings that were just obsessively following him around. And it was, hey, Brandon, Brandon this, Brandon that. And it all kind of culminated when that night, I guess Brandon had gotten drunk with a bunch of these adolescents. And they wanted to get me and Tony to go streaking through the cow pasture of Kalashbash that night. And I remember Brandon's like hanging in the door of our RV, convincing us like, Clay, it'd be so much fun. And I'm like, how many people are doing this with you? And I look outside and it's just all these like wide-eyed neckbeard dudes like, oh, Clay, it'd be so much fun. Brandon really wants to do it. I'm like, Brandon, you've got some power, my man, but I have to be above reproach and not go do that right now. And that was not even that famous Brandon. He's been to, I remember going to the first, the Gundies. We went to a Gundies one time. I'll never go back. It was terrible. But I remember going to the Gundies, and even then, like other influencers are on that dude's jock hard, big time, for like all the wrong reasons, for like clout. And that felt really gross. The worst I've ever seen that KB, he just pops into KB, never really even tells us he's coming. He comes in, and dude, I'm telling you, the AK guy at an AK event gets swarmed, right?
Oh yeah.
10 steps. He's got to do 20 photos. He's got to listen
Yeah.
to 20 people talk about how, oh, that one video,
I
you got
loved
this
your
one thing
video.
wrong, or
Yeah.
this, yeah. Cool. He gets that crowd done. 20 steps. There's a crowd. 20 steps. There's a crowd. And and I've seen that, and I'm bad for 3 days, dude. 3 days, and it's horrible. I mean, the dude has to go hide to eat lunch. Literally has to go hide in the clubhouse to eat lunch because people just don't understand personal space, and they're just so starstruck. And these are grown men, like, that are obsessing over this guy. And I remember thinking, damn, I mean, I almost felt a little bad because it looked so isolating, and the guy had to go sit by himself in the clubhouse with just his inner circle to get away from all that for like 2 seconds just to eat a taco. So it's people look at that lifestyle with like rose-colored glasses, and they're like, oh, it'd be so cool to be super famous on YouTube. A lot comes with that. You get a lot of hate. People you don't know will say the nastiest things about you to you online, all these anonymous faces that just want to tear you down. And then certainly at his level, you go to anything gun related, he's instantly known and mobbed. It sounds cool, and maybe it is, but it just looked very, very isolating. So, moral of the story, I'm like, I'm happy at this level. It's nice because I've seen that, and it just looks scary. And the people I've met around here still don't, I guess, I don't catch a lot of like the weird hate that you do at a certain echelon of like subscriber count when people just hate you for no reason.
Yeah.
I get some of it, but I don't get as much as those people do. And man, it almost frightens me to get that at that level. So I'm kind of happy at this nice little spot. I just kind of want to stay right here.
You're doing a fantastic job at it. And speaking of the hate comments, last phone conversation I had with you, I was talking about monetizing. And I was like, I said to you, oh, well, I was like, it's not been really that bad. I haven't gotten too many hate comments, just a lot of smart asses. And you're like, oh, just wait. They are coming. And I was like, oh, thanks for the reassurance, buddy. But
did they ever come?
Every now and then it's mostly smart ass comments like, huh, I bet if you did this, it would have worked. I'm like, and I'll just say, thanks for watching. That's just my reply. Because I can't reply in like a negative way or like be like, well, no, actually it was this. I just thanks for watching or thumbs up.
Actually, I'm not ugly and I do read good.
Yeah.
I can. So I'm in his comments and I'm saying post practice score.
Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you for that one, Paul. That's Paul's that's what is it? How much do you bench is Paul's show your practice score.
Yeah. Post physique.
Yeah. What is practice score?
Yeah, exactly. But
oh man,
Paul, do you have anything else you want to bring up to Clay? Because now we're keeping his wife from eating, and I know how an angry, hungry woman can be.
No, bringing up tacos has even made me hungry. I just
know,
want to say, thanks for coming on. It means a lot to both of us, and I don't know. Thanks for hanging out. We'll probably cross paths at another couple of majors this year. I know that Jamie and I are getting out, probably doing some road trips, going around, trying to get to some of the bigger ones. I will be at the Winter KCON event, and as long as Jamie doesn't bail, he will be there as well.
I'll be there.
Freeze our asses off. But then, obviously summer will be there, and then hopefully. I really want to get down to Lethal Weapons next year. I think it looked like a great time. It is definitely, my vibe of a match as well. I've got an A2 that I shoot, incredibly well. I was actually I took like 4th at a practical rifle match with it, where I was shooting against modern, ARs, and I had the carry handle 4 times on there. So I was like, well, time to take this boat show on the road. So.
See, I don't have anything
know.
cool.
Big
so
year.
I don't want to make promises that I'll be there because I don't have anything that cool.
You just bring an
I don't. Yeah, that's. I guess.
You
have
a perfect one behind you. I can see it.
The Frankenstein Burial? No, I gotta cite that thing in and make a video tomorrow. Oh, that's the Mahdi.
Yeah, bring the Mahdi.
Perfect.
Yeah, I
got a
might
cleaning
bring
rod and everything.
That Galil thing I'm working on. That's my next project. I really hope that turns out nice. But that's another time and place, hopefully sooner than later. But I don't rush people that are working on my firearms. But Clay, I have to say thank you for hitting me up, actually. And no, I hit you up, but then I just left you alone because I figured you're a busy guy. And then you're like, hey, when do you want to do this? And I was like, oh, fucking A. But you're awesome. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being a very cool dude who you have been for the lifespan I've known you. And I appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody else appreciates everything that you do, especially for the gun community, like as a whole, I guess, the AKA community, for sure. You're just a great guy. So if you see Clay and you have a neck beard, make sure you mob him up.
We'd probably be friends.
Ask him a ton of questions.
We're probably compatible.
Stand over his shoulder while he eats. Do it all. He loves that shit. That's what he wants.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on, Mr. Recroni and Cheese and Midwest Savage. Man, I wish I could hang out with dudes like you all the time. When we go to these big AK majors, the people I meet there, and I'm sure Paul can attest to this. I go to all different types of other majors that have nothing to do with AKs, and it's cool. It's tight knit, not like the AK crowd. It's a completely different feeling, and I always come away with it going, man. In a perfect world, all the people that go to these big AK matches would all live relatively close to each other, and we'd see each other way more. We'd all see each other at the range more. Like, it's just, I know the type of people I want to be around all the time now doing this. Ever since I went to that first Red October, it was like an instant light bulb. Like, oh, I finally found the crowd that I want to fit into somehow. And damn it, I'm going to fit into this crowd somehow, some way. That's what Red October did for me back in 2016. I'd never been around a crowd like that. I thought drag racing was going to be a thing, soccer, sports. I've tried a lot of different things, and even just guns in general, the niche of being into AKs and being around that crowd, tailor-made for AK people. I don't know, man. Light bulb went off, and that's my happy place, and I've been in it ever since 2016. I hope it never stops. I hope it never stops seeing guys like you go to these things and just be around each other. It's the most special thing in my life outside of my first wife is just this thing. This, like someone said, it's like the Clova Nostra, this thing of ours. It's almost like we're in this gang of AK things. You know what I mean? It feels so special to be a part of it. So yeah, man, I hope I'm going to ride until the wheels fall off. So again, thanks for having me on.
Hell yeah.
It's been fun to talk about it.
Hell yeah, brother. Yeah. So, oh yeah. Check us out. Shooter Are You Ready podcast. Apple, Amazon, Spotify, now on YouTube. Links in the descriptions. Thank you for watching. Give a thumbs up. Hit some comments up. And I'm going to let you be, Clay. So we're going to sign off here. And thank you guys for listening. Thanks for watching. Love you. See you in the next one.
Love you. Bye.
Wait, I got to push this button again.
Shooter ready.
Yep.
Shooter ready? Stand by. Shooter ready. Stand by.
Shooter, are you ready? Stand by. Shooter ready. Stand by.